Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to our discussion of online learning. In today's lesson, we will be looking at the NSQ National Standards for Online Courses, and we will be conducting Lesson 2, which is the course overview and support. Now, as we enter into this, the NSQ National Standards for Quality Online Learning are delineated into three segments. The first of these is National Standards for Online Teaching. There are National Standards for Online Courses and National Standards for Online Programs. Specifically, we will be examining the NSQ National Standards for Online Courses. And the NSQ National Standards may be downloaded from the NSQ website using the following URL: https://www.nsqol.org/. Now, the NSQOL, National Standards for Quality and Online Learning, is what that stands for. And I certainly encourage you to go to this website and examine these materials. Now, again, we will be studying the National Standards for Online Coursing. It is not our intent to bypass online teaching or online programs, but the first thing we're going to start with is the online courses, so that you can see what it takes to build a quality online course. Now, by the end of this video, it is my intent that you're able to implement actions to address the NSQ Standards for Online Courses Standard A, Course Overview and Support. Now, there are several standards which we will review, but we will begin with Standard A, which is Course Overview and Support. Standard A says this: the overall design of the course is made clear to the learner at the beginning of the course. The course materials include support services essential to learner and instructor success. Course instructions articulate or link to relevant information and services. Now, why this might sound very simplistic, actually you're going to see that it entails a great depth of thinking about your course design, and we will look at ways which you may address this. Specifically, you will be able to implement actions to address the requirements of substandards A1 through A8. Standard A is delineated into these specific substandards. A1, a course overview and syllabus are included in the online course. A2, minimum computer skills and digital literacy skills expected of the learner are clearly stated. A3, the instructor's biographical information and information on how to communicate with the instructor are provided to learners and stakeholders. Learner expectations and policies are clearly stated and readily accessible within the introductory materials of the course, and minimum technology requirements for the course are clearly stated, and information on how to obtain the technologies is provided. Grading policies and practices are clearly defined in accordance with course content learning expectations. The online course provides a clear description or link to the technical support offered and how to obtain it. Learners are offered an orientation prior to the start of the online course. Specifically, the objective of this video is to provide you with a plan that will address the requirements of substandards A1 through A8. Now, I know, guys, that it's boring when I read those things to you, but I certainly encourage you to go out to the NSQ site, download the three standards, but specifically a PDF version of the online standards for online courses and course development. Now, let us consider an underlying framework to help address Standard A. This box represents your course. Now, your course will have many components, but for this first standard, I want to examine three specific components of the course: a course splash page, a syllabus, and a program course assessment model. And I will discuss these in detail as we go forward. The course splash page is the opening page of your online course. This is where you provide students with a first impression of your course and provide guidance through the following. Now, before I get into these about the splash page, consider the importance of the first impression. Your splash page should look professional. It should contain all of the material that it should, but it should be aesthetically pleasing. And you want to design it as best you can where it is not intimidating. That page should include an introduction to the teacher and a personal welcome. Let's talk about the introduction to the teacher just a minute. An introduction that says, "Hi, I'm Einstein, I'm brilliant, and you're stupid," is not a good introduction. View this a moment from the student's viewpoint. The student is already intimidated. They're entering into an online course. They're about to meet the great, fearsome college instructor. One of the things that I like to do when I introduce them to me is to welcome them with a video, as much as the one that you're looking at. You could welcome them with a written narrative, or you could do a combination of both, and that is available on your splash page. But I'm a human being. I remember teaching math years ago, and a student walked by and saw me in the grocery store, and it was, "Oh my God, Mr. Waller, what are you doing here?" Like they put the math teachers in the closets on the weekend. Listen, I'm a husband. I've been married 44 years. I'm a father. I have 4 children. One of those children is adopted from Romania, and he is very dear to my heart, as are the other 3. I have 9 grandchildren. My video will share things like pictures of things that I've done as I talk about myself, but it is a means to put the student at ease. If you recall, one of the great challenges of online learning is to build a forum where the student can interact with the teacher. They need to understand that I'm a human being just like they are. I'm their guide through the valley of the shadow of this course. And they don't have to fear any evil because I'm with them. I will help them. And I want to welcome them. I want them to feel at ease in the course. Certainly I have high expectations. Certainly I'm going to grade the course. It's likely that some will not pass. But those who do the work will pass. And I will do everything I can for a committed student to help them succeed. I'm me. Hi, guys. Do you want to go fishing this weekend? Just let me know. Those type things. But you need to introduce yourself, and you need to be personable when you do so. We will provide an orientation to the course. I also like doing that in video where it can be shared with students. And of course, you need a course description and, of course, student learning outcomes, what we call CLSOs, on your splash page. Here's what the course is as described. Here's what you're expected to know when you come out, and what is the required technology and what are the expected literacy skills that you must have to be successful in this course. And what are the learner expectations and policy requirements? We'll talk a little bit more about this when we get down into the syllabus, but I want you to notice that I have an A3, an A8, an A1, A2, A5, A4. These are the parts of the substandards that this particular issue will meet. And of course, we certainly want to link them to technical support. If you have problems, here's what you need to do. First of all, you have a peer group, which I'm going to set up. And you may want to work with some of your peers. If that doesn't work, feel free to contact your instructor. Or if I can't solve it, then we may need to go to IT and let our esteemed Mr. Ricardo help you, because he's very capable of doing that. Notice that this did not cover all of the substandards, but the splash page provided for many of them, at least in an introductory capacity. A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, skipped A6, but we have A7 and A8. You also have a syllabus, and the syllabus is your contract with the student. A good syllabus provides the following: the instructor contact information, course descriptions, and a listing of course student learning outcomes, the CSLOs, an explanation of grading and assessment activities, and we will speak a little bit more of that shortly. The course sequencing. On week 1, we're going to do a certain thing. Week 2, we're going to do something else. The learner expectations and policy requirements, I will show you some examples, and provides program/course assessment model. I generally provide this as an appendix to my syllabi, and I will show you an example of that. Now notice we have Substandard 1, Substandard 3, Substandard 6, and Substandard 4. So we are covering those standards, and we are doing it with our syllabus, and we're doing it with our splash page. And the syllabus template is provided by the institution. Now, in case you're running in panic and thinking, oh my God, how am I ever going to develop a syllabus that does all these things? All you have to do is contact me and I will help you. I will provide you the syllabus for your course. And we should have lined out in that syllabus the CLOs and how they link to the program student learning outcomes, the CSLOs and the PSLOs. You shouldn't be something that you're having to do, but what you're going to have to do is to link your assessment to the CSLO, which in turn links to the PSLOs. I'll show you that in a moment. Here's an example of the BUA course syllabus, the very first thing, the course code, title, credit hours, semester and academic year, class timings. This is going to be online. And your method of instruction. The course uses the face-to-face method of instruction. It's delivered in hybrid format. It's fully online. You're just telling them how you're going to do the course. And if you do a fully online course, you have options as to your class timing. Your class timing can use the asynchronous approach where you have group meetings that are set up with the small groups for you to interact with the students, or you could have a time every now and then that you actually meet with a full class. Your name and your contact information and office hours. Now, the syllabus gives these things, but it's very non-personable. If you do this on the splash page and you have a cute little video about yourself and your background, your expertise, and you as a human being, it really does add a little bit more depth to what you're giving these students, and it makes them feel much more comfortable with you. This is part of the syllabus, the assessment activities, samples, the course activities, how much of your grade they will count, quizzes, examinations, class discussions, final exam. Now, the grading system and scale for BUA is as follows. What do you have to get an A? Well, you have to have a final score of 90 to 100%. What do you have to get a D if you're a low achiever? Well, a 60 to a 69%, and less than a 69% you see that would result in failure in the course. That's in the syllabus, and it breaks that out. You have policies. Here's the attendance policy. Here's some other relevant policies, honor code, expectations. The course syllabus template will include items about plagiarism and cheating and all of those sorts of things. Now, once you get beyond that, you also have a program course assessment model. This is a requirement of accreditation and should be explained to the students. The students have a right to know. They have a right to know what they're expected to know when they go in the program as they complete the program. What are they expected to know when they complete the course? What are the targets of what you're trying to achieve? You'll notice that as I did this video, I told you up front what I'm trying to achieve. I want to give you a plan to address the requirements for the NSQ National Standards for Online Courses Standard A. And that's what I want you to do, and that's what we will try to accomplish. Now, each of your course assessment activities must be linked to one of the student learning outcomes. Now, this will come clearer in just a moment when I explain this to you. But if you're doing an assessment, that assessment must be tied or linked to one of the things you're trying to accomplish in the course, which in turn feed back to what we're trying to accomplish with the completion of the program. This provides a link for each assessment to the course student learning outcomes and subsequently to the program student learning outcomes. This again is Substandard 6. Now consider the following diagram. We have program student learning outcomes. I've listed here only PSLO 1 and PSLO 2. We may have PSLO 1, PSLO 2, PSLO 3, PSLO 4. I encourage programs not to have more than 4 PSLOs because when you have a PSLO, you have to measure it. Now, each PSLO is supported by courses, and this particular course falls under PSLO 1. And this course has 4 course learning outcomes. I hope you're beginning to see a pattern here. Program student learning outcomes, 4 of them. Course student learning outcomes, 4 of them. And then each of the CSLOs has a assessment that is linked to it in the course. Maybe in this example, we have 2 assessments to CSLO 1. It might be that you choose to have 5 assessments. It may be that you choose to have 1 assessment. This is up to you. You're the instructor. But you need to link your assessment document to the CSLO, which in turn links to the appropriate PSLO. I like putting on my exam down at the bottom of it, maybe the last page. This assessment is linked with CSLO 1, and then I put the wording for CSLO 1. Now, for example, Assessment 1 is linked to CSLO 1, which is linked to PSLO 1. Assessment 7 is linked to CSLO 4, which is linked to PSLO 1. This provides a clear roadmap for assessing learning at the course and programmatic levels to establish that students have mastered the material. Programmatic assessment, course assessment using direct assessments of student learning, all of these things are part of accreditation requirements. They are part of the seal of quality which we give students to ensure them that they have indeed been taught what we said that they would be taught, and that we have documented that they have mastered what we said that they would be taught. This is a very clever model. In the syllabus, in my appendix, I have the program learning outcomes listed, and then I have a mapping of the course student learning outcomes to the program student learning outcomes. In other words, CSLO 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, for this particular course, will be under one of these program student learning outcomes. Now, in the example, I provided the flexibility for 5 PSLOs, but I certainly recommend for a program that there are 4. I've provided the flexibility for 5 CSLOs, but I recommend 4 in that place. But here is a mapping. In other words, if the student goes in this course, they know that what they're learning supports PSLO 1, or maybe the entire course falls under PSLO 3. That's very important that be identified when we go about assessing the viability of student performance for the program. You also, in a syllabus, have something that looks like this. This is the progression model. And I put it here because I want you to see that there's a topic, maybe required readings, an assignment, an assessment may occur in week 4. We may have an exam. But when that assessment is given, what CSLO do we map it to in order to establish that we have this flow, that our assessments tie to the CSLOs and our CSLOs tie to the PSLOs? Now, let us consider the 3 components of this framework just a minute. If you develop a good splash page with the issues that I shared with you, then you should address A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A7, and A8. Your syllabus, at a minimum, I assure you, will address some of the other ones, but it will include definitely A1, A3, A4, and A6. And of course, by providing the program course assessment model in the appendices, you're also covering Substandard 6. By having a well-designed course splash page, by having a well-designed syllabus, and we will provide you that template, you will simply have to put in some of the information, and by having the program course assessment model, which is a matrix that will be developed and will be given to you as part of the syllabus, you in fact have covered all 8 of these required substandards, and you can do it very effectively. Now, let me remind you that there's a difference between simply covering and covering it in detail and with a flair. Just like your introduction, you can be boring as dirt, or you can be a lot of fun, and you can be very open to your students. I encourage you to look at these issues and to share them with students, but share them in a way that helps them master the material. You were promised that by the end of this video, you would be able to implement actions to address the NSQ National Standards for Online Courses, Standard A, Course Overview and Support. Here's the standard again. Now, my question to you is, has this video kept this commitment? My prayer is that I have given you a plan that through your splash page, your syllabus, and your program course assessment matrix, that you will meet all of these expectations. Here again are the standards, in case you forgot them, a course overview and syllabus, talking about the minimum computer skills and the digital literacy skills expected of the learner, your biographical information and information on how to communicate with you, learner expectations and policies, minimum technology requirements, your grading policies. The first thing students really want to know is, how am I going to be graded? Well, you're going to master the material. We're going to have assessments that tie to the course learning, student learning outcomes, and those assessments will be graded by the instructor, probably according to a rubric, which will be very interesting. The online course provides a clear distinction or link to the technical support. How do you get help if you need it? And certainly you need an orientation, which is part of the splash page at the front of the course. Specifically, these substandards should be much easier to address now that you have a plan to do so. Build a good splash page, establish a good syllabus, which is provided up front to the students, and in that syllabus, include at the back of it the program course assessment matrix. Now, best wishes to you in the days ahead, and more videos are yet to come. We have several standards that we have to address in the NSQ national standards. We've got Standard A. Well, guess what? The next video will be on Standard B, and so forth.